The restaurant was almost empty when I realized my friends had been laughing at me the entire night, and the woman sitting across from me was the only person in the room who didn't think I was a joke. I still remember the way my hands felt under the table, gripping my glass as I watched my friends trying not to laugh. They had told me they were setting me up on a fun date, something to help me get back into the world after years of shutting myself away. I believed them because I trusted them. I thought maybe they actually wanted to see me happy again. But when I arrived at that small restaurant in Ohio, I noticed the strange smiles, the hidden whispers, and the way they kept looking at their phones. Something felt wrong. What if you were in my place? What would you do if the people you trusted most turned your loneliness into entertainment? Would you walk away immediately, or would you stay long enough to discover that something unexpected was waiting for you? My name is Andrew, and for a long time, I had forgotten what it felt like to look forward to tomorrow. 3 years earlier, my life had completely changed. I lost my wife, Rachel, after a long illness, and the world I knew became a quiet place. The house we built together felt too big. The mornings felt too empty. Even simple things like cooking dinner or watching a movie became reminders that someone important was missing. I still went to work every day at a small construction company in Pennsylvania, but outside of work, I disappeared from people. I stopped accepting invitations. I stopped answering messages quickly. I convinced myself that being alone was easier than risking another loss. My friends, Marcus and Kevin, never gave up on me. They constantly tried to bring me back into life, even when I pushed them away. They told me I was too young to spend the rest of my years hiding from happiness. I always smiled and changed the subject. That was why, when they convinced me to go on a blind date, I finally agreed. I expected an awkward evening, maybe a polite conversation with someone I would never see again. I never expected my own friends had planned something completely different. The woman across from me was named Grace. She was in her early 30s, with kind eyes and a calm presence that made the noisy restaurant feel strangely peaceful. She wore a simple navy blouse and had her blonde hair tied back neatly. She didn't seem nervous or uncomfortable. In fact, she seemed like the only person who actually wanted to be there. At first, I thought she knew about the joke. I assumed she was part of it. My friends had apparently told her something embarrassing about me. I didn't know what exactly, but I could feel it. The way they looked over from another table. The way they smiled whenever I spoke. The way Kevin covered his mouth to hide his laughter. I felt humiliated. After a few minutes, I stood up and apologized to Grace, telling her I had to leave. I expected her to laugh. I expected her to admit the whole thing was a prank. Instead, she looked at me with a sadness that I didn't understand. She told me she didn't know anything about a joke. She said Marcus had contacted her because he believed two people who had experienced loss might understand each other. I froze. Later, I found out my friends had exaggerated the situation because they were desperate to get me out of my shell. They thought making it seem casual would convince me to come. They never realized how deeply it would hurt. But Grace didn't judge me. She didn't see a broken man. She saw someone who was tired from carrying pain alone. That night, we didn't have a perfect movie-style beginning. There were no magical moments or instant promises. We simply talked. We talked about grief. About family. About regrets. About the strange moments in life when you feel like you are moving forward but still looking behind you. Grace told me she had also spent years rebuilding herself after losing someone important. She understood the feeling of waking up and wondering how the world continued when yours had stopped. For the first time in years, I felt like someone wasn't trying to fix me. They were simply sitting beside me. Over the next few months, Grace slowly became part of my life. She encouraged me to reconnect with old friends. She convinced me to repair things around my house that I had ignored for years. She reminded me that moving forward didn't mean forgetting Rachel. That was something I struggled with. I thought finding happiness again meant I was leaving my past behind. I felt guilty every time I laughed. I felt guilty every time I enjoyed something new. Grace helped me understand that love does not disappear when someone is gone. The memories remain, but the heart still has room to grow. One winter evening, I came home after a difficult day at work. A project had failed, and I felt like everything was falling apart again. I sat silently at the kitchen table, staring at old photographs. Grace sat beside me. She didn't give a speech. She didn't tell me everything would magically become better. She simply reminded me that I had survived every painful day I thought I couldn't survive. Those words stayed with me. Because sometimes the person who changes your life isn't the person who saves you. Sometimes they are the person who reminds you that you were capable of saving yourself all along. A year after that strange joke date, I returned to the same restaurant where we first met. This time, there was no embarrassment. No hidden laughter. No pretending. Just gratitude. Marcus and Kevin apologized for what they did. They admitted they had gone too far, and they finally understood that someone's pain should never become a joke, even when the intention is good. I forgave them because I knew they were trying to help. They made a mistake, but that mistake accidentally led me to someone who changed my entire future. Grace and I continued building a life together. Not a perfect life, but a real one. A life filled with challenges, memories, and moments that reminded us how precious ordinary days could be. Sometimes I think about how close I came to walking away that night. If I had left 5 minutes earlier, I would have never known the woman sitting across from me was not part of the joke. She was the beginning of a new chapter. Before this story ends, I want to ask you something. What moment in your life almost made you give up, but later became the reason you found hope again? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if this story truly touched your heart, please consider liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. Sometimes a simple story can remind someone that second chances can appear in the most unexpected places. Because sometimes the people who enter our lives by accident are the ones who help us find our way home.